This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening and welcome to the Wednesday, May 15th, 2024, South Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners meeting. I'm going to call this meeting to order. We have all commissioners present this evening. At this time, I would ask you to all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to announce that all public sessions of the South Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners are electronically recorded, filed, and posted to the Township website for public access. At this time, I will ask our Township Manager, Tom Petrucci, to review our public virtual meeting rules.
The public virtual meeting rules are as follows. Courtesy of the floor for non-agenda items will be at the beginning and end of the agenda. Public comment will be limited to 5 minutes per speaker. For all listed agenda items, the board president will call for courtesy of the floor prior to the Board of Commissioners taking action on that specific agenda item. For in-person attendees, please raise your hand to be recognized, then move to the podium when directed. You will be asked to state your name and address for the record and may then proceed with asking your question. For those participating virtually, please mute your microphone or telephone to avoid any background noise that may cause interference during the meeting. The chat box feature will be active throughout the meeting. If you have a comment or question, please type your full name and address into the chat box. The staff member monitoring GoToMeeting will then unmute your microphone and you will have the opportunity to comment or ask a question. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. I'd also like to announce the Board of Commissioners did meet in executive session prior to tonight's meeting to discuss legal and personnel matters. Agenda item 4 is courtesy of the floor. This is opportunity for any member of the public to comment on any non-agenda items. Is there anyone present this evening that would like to address the board? Yes, sir, if you'd come up to the microphone. If you'd please state your name and address for the record, please.
Don Klein, 5205 High Vista Drive, Warfield.
Thank you.
All right, I'd like to address the board in regard to issues that have arisen in regard to selection. I see there's a resolution on the agenda for today calling for policy entitled South Whitehall Township Appointment Policy of Appointed Citizens Boards, Committees, Commissions, and Councils. And my concern about that is that there's now suddenly been a change in policy in South Whitehall Township in regard to interviewing people who are seeking a position on the board, on any commission board. The change has been that the chairman of those committees are no longer being asked to participate. I question why that's the case. I spoke with Diane Kelly today about it, but why they don't want them to participate, because those are the people that have the most knowledge about what goes on in their committees. But obviously, some people have felt that that's inappropriate for whatever their reason was. And this came about a while back when someone was about to be appointed to the zoning board, of which I'm the chairman. He had declined to be on the board, but nevertheless, at the next meeting, Mr. Roth proceeded to vilify me, saying that I shouldn't have questioned the man the way I did. Nevertheless, I did, because I felt it was important, because it dealt with Ridgeview Farms and what's going to happen in zoning and so forth. Be that as it may, someone has now been appointed to the zoning board, and there was no input or knowledge given to me as the chairman. No one has even bothered to inform me about it until it was a fait accompli. Now, the gentleman may be fine. I have no issues in regard to him, because I don't know him, don't know anything about him, never informed about him. And question I asked Ms. Kelly today was, why wouldn't you have the chairman of any committee be part of the interviewing personnel? Why wouldn't you want someone with that information to be there? Now, they don't vote. The board here votes, and they usually do a very good job. But my point is, why would you pick someone for a committee the person who's the chairman of that committee, and that means all the committees, not just zoning, Why wouldn't you have them there to give information about what they do? Unless the person has a hidden agenda, or the idea is to, we'll put whoever we want on these boards because that's what we want. Not only is it not democratic, it's authoritarian. These boards are all supposed to be open, transparent, etc. Why wouldn't you want the person who is the chairman of that committee to be there? Why wouldn't you want someone else besides the board members? And I'm sure you're all fine. But that doesn't mean that they shouldn't have more information about who these people are, what they do, what they would like to know about the board. Maybe they have questions about being on the zoning board or the public safety commission or whatever commission it might be. How would they know that? People on the board here don't come to the meetings. Maybe you watch it on TV, I don't know. But very few. I'm at every meeting. And I rarely see anybody here who's on this commission come to a zoning meeting. Now, again, you might be watching it on TV or on the monitor. And if you do, fine, that's great. But nevertheless, that doesn't give you the knowledge, the firsthand knowledge of the inner workings of any of those committees. Zoning, as a matter of fact, is really a separate entity from the other committees. It chooses its own solicitor, and it has certain independent abilities. So I'm here to say, I don't know what your resolution is, but I think the resolution, if it doesn't include that the chairman of those committees are part of every interviewing committee, then it's wrong. And it's taking away from the people of the township, taking away from the people who are involved to know what's going on. Why would anybody not want them there? There has to be a reason why they don't want them there. All that has ever happened in all the 20 some odd years I've been on the zoning board and been called to do this. In all those years, the basic thing that I've presented is what the board does, how many times we meet, where we meet, maybe there's rollovers, etc. That's what happens. There's nothing wrong with that. But to have a meeting now, and it's interesting that suddenly it's come up because I've protested about this a couple of times. And it's interesting that resolution D suddenly comes up tonight with no one informing anybody about it, no one saying anything to anyone about it, except your own members. And that's what I am here to talk about. And I would hope that if a resolution is passed, it's passed with the idea that the chairman of those committees are all included, participate. I'm not saying they vote, you vote. I'm not trying to take away your right to vote. But I am saying I want to at least have the input of people from committees who know what they're doing, who've been doing it for years. I've been doing it for over 20, probably 25 years. But nevertheless, that's what should be happening. The President of the United States doesn't pick a cabinet that isn't reviewed by the Senate. It's the same thing. You can't just go and pick people and not give anybody else an opportunity to ask questions or to give them information. That's not happening here. That's not the way democracy works. That's not the way government works. And it goes all the way down to South Whitehall, as it does to the President of the United States. So that is my comment. If anybody has a question for me, fine. If not, that's what I would hope would happen in today's resolution, that resolution would be tabled, put aside, and moved to have members of the committees that they're chairman of to be part and parcel of every decision-making thing. Not necessarily a voter, but someone who gives an input to it. So that is what I have for tonight. If anybody else has any questions for me, I'm more than happy to answer them.
I'll just briefly respond. Mr. Klein, if you look at the agenda for tonight, the changes being contemplated to the appointments policy have nothing to do with who sits in on the interviews. That's been the standing policy of the township for a year now. The changes we're talking about tonight have to do with the reappointment of members and providing an easier path to reappointment for longstanding members, having them fill out a reappointment form so that we can get up to date on on
Okay,
some
well,
of
there
the,
has come times when people's time runs out and they haven't been reappointed. So if that's what this is meant to address, that's
what
fine.
the changes to the policy are meant to address. With respect to your concern about the chairman sitting in on the interviews, that hasn't been the case in South Whitehall for a year.
No, but it was that way it was for 25 years.
Correct, but just the,
But because you didn't like the fact
Sir,
that your
I'm
friend
speaking right now.
didn't get decided not to be on the board, you changed. You wanted it changed.
that rule change
Your
went through a
agenda.
public process. I'll tell you how it used to be done in South Whitehall. The interviews were done by 2 commissioners behind closed doors, maybe in consultation with the chairman of the committee. Since we've all been elected to the board, the 5 of us, we conduct public interviews, not private interviews, where the board of commissioners, all 5 of us, ask questions and deliberate and appoint members to the board. And by ordinance, it's the board of commissioners who make the decision about appointing members to our volunteer boards and commissions. It is not fair to give one member of, say, the zoning hearing board or the planning commission an advantage to sit in on that interview and to exclude other members of the zoning hearing board. It's more uniform if the board of commissioners, as the elected body of the township, makes that decision. Now, those interviews are all done in public. Members of the public, including yourself, have the opportunity to come and view those interviews, watch them online, watch the videos after if requested. You have the opportunity to comment before we vote on appointing anybody to the boards and commissions. It is a much more transparent process than that was the case in South Whitehall for 25 years. And the reason, just because we've done this all along, we should continue doing it, is not always the best answer. There are a lot of things that were wrong in South Whitehall for many years that we have changed and that the administration has changed, and South Whitehall is better off because of it. So we have a very transparent process. The board is involved. We ask good questions. A lot of members of this board do attend zoning hearing board meetings in person. I've sat in the back there at a number of them. I've tuned in all the rest online. I've attended well over 50 or 60 planning commission meetings. We do attend. We are well informed. We know the members of the boards. We know that the great work that they've been doing on the boards. We know the qualifications of the individuals coming before us. We were here just 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, where we had a night where we interviewed, I believe, 13 or 14 highly qualified individuals for a variety of boards. We were here for almost 4 hours with the opportunity to get to know them, talk about their interests, and then at a subsequent public meeting, we made these appointments. So the process is very transparent. You're more than willing to provide input at a public meeting, whether or not you like our selection. I'm sorry you chose not to do that when we appointed the latest alternate member of the zoning hearing board.
That's immaterial who you appointed. It doesn't really matter because we didn't know anything about it. So,
Public, the interviews are public. You could have sat in on.
be realistic. You put things on the board that people should see it. How many people? There's 20,000 people in South Whitehall Township. I want to guess how many ever looked at that. Maybe 1, maybe 2. So it's not transparent. It's a good way of getting out of it. It's very political on your part. You're good at that.
The agendas
But you're not saying the
public.
facts.
I am stating facts. The agendas are public, the meetings are public, the interviews are public. None of this used to be public before. It's public now.
Does the
That's a
public
fact.
know that you decided to eliminate the protocol that has been going on, that chairman attend those meetings?
It was on our agenda last year.
Vote on.
It was on the agenda. We adopted it in public meeting.
And how many people were here? 2?
The public, we post our agendas on the website. Everyone knows when
You
we
can
meet.
say all that, but the fact of the matter is that's not the case.
The fact of the
You
matter
have
is,
to be honest with
sir,
it, but the rest of us,
sir,
because it isn't true.
sir, I'm going to say one more thing and then we need to move on from this discussion. I am really sorry that you disagree with the direction that the board has taken on this item, but ultimately the board sets the direction for the township. The board appoints members of our volunteer boards and commissions. And if you have a problem with that, you're more than happy to speak your mind, but the decision's been made. The policy has been set forth. It's the policy we're going to follow, and it is much more transparent than it used to be. If you're still disgruntled about that, I'm really sorry, but we need to move on. We have worked so hard in this township over the past few years to put the negativity, to put the infighting, to put all these, the horrible ways and the ways in which our meetings used to be conducted behind us. And we treat each other with decency and respect. We treat our volunteers with decency and respect.
Well,
So for you to come here,
you've been successful in doing the opposite in terms of this particular situation. You haven't informed, you didn't send a notice out by newsletter to the people that the chairmen are not involved anymore. He didn't send anything out to anyone.
We adopted it in a public meeting. Our agenda's advertised, sir.
I know.
So
The one that you
I
know
would
that
ask
no
you
one
to
else
not,
sees.
I would ask you to not go back to the negativity of past days and to please be
There was
respectful.
not negativity in past days. This is the negativity.
Okay, I'm going to put an end to this discussion at this point. You've both made your points.
Yes, okay,
All of
that's
the
fine.
board members have heard. I will add one comment. The meeting that we held to interview was a special meeting, which was advertised specifically both on our website and in the newspaper. It wasn't an ordinary Board of Commissioners meeting. We have done everything we can as an entity, as a township, to advertise and promote transparency.
Things that have been protocol, even though they're not written, are the methods people follow. They've always seen it that way. They've always done it that way. And that's the way it should be. Now, this is obviously something on one person's agenda, not mine.
Very good.
And that's the reason this has occurred.
Tom, did you have anything to add from management perspective before we close this discussion?
The only thing I would like to add is that the policy is compliant with the first class township code. The amended policy was unanimously approved last year in March
I know why it was
by the
approved.
sitting five.
And I
board-
know why it was approved. And it had nothing to do with anything other than the fact that somebody decided not to be on the board because of the questioning that they had. That
I
was the
think
reason.
one thing that has not been broached this evening is the fact that the chairperson, whoever that person is, of each board, each citizen board, committee, commission, eventually has to be reappointed themselves. So in this way, the board is the neutral appointing agency body of the township, and they are conducting it in public. But it is almost a conflict to have the chairperson that they may themselves have to seek reappointment at some point, providing input as well. That's one thing that
Well, that's a nice
the
argument, but
policy
that
can.
doesn't make any sense. That really makes no sense.
Well,
All right.
we do thank you for your comment this evening. We'll
All
take
right,
it under
thank you.
advisement. Thank you. Is there any other member of the public who would like to address the board this evening? Is there anyone online with any comments? Okay, hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item 5, which are our meeting minutes from the May 1st, 2024 Board of Commissioners meeting. They have been distributed in advance to the board for your review. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Sorry.
Second. Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We have no ordinances this evening. Moving on to agenda item 7, resolutions. 7A, we have a resolution granting a waiver of subdivision and land development review and approval requirements of the subdivision and land development ordinance for a plan entitled St. Joseph the Worker School Sidewalk Expansion. I'll ask our planner, Greg Adams, to present this agenda item.
Thank you. This is an application to further develop the property located at 1858 Applewood Drive. The plan proposes the construction of an approximately 1,400 square foot concrete walkway on the south side of the main driveway south of the school building on their 11.6628 acre parcel. Just as a note, the Public Safety Commission reviewed the plan at their May 6th meeting and made no comments. The Planning Commission reviewed the plan at their May 9th, 2024 meeting and recommended the waiver from land development approval with 12 favorably recommended waiver requests. The applicant requests obviously an approval of the waiver land development application, and staff has no objections to that request. The applicant's team is here if you have any questions.
Very good. Thank you, Greg. Before we proceed, I will ask our township engineer, Erin Bett, this evening if you have any engineering comments to provide to the board.
Sure. We don't have any further engineering comments. As Greg had mentioned, this is a waiver of the land development application. There were several waivers approved or recommended for approval, and we feel the remaining comments can be addressed prior to completeness.
Very good. At this time, I'll ask the board if there are any comments or questions that we need to bring the developer up to address this evening. Hearing and seeing none, are there any public comments on this resolution? Is there anything online? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve said resolution?
So moved.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Good luck with your project. Thank you. Agenda item 7B, we have a resolution granting a waiver of subdivision and land development review and approval requirements of the subdivision and land development ordinance for plan entitled Cedar Creek Parkway West 2024 improvements. And I'll ask our planner, Greg Adams, again to present.
Thank you. This is an application to further develop the property located at 4200 Broadway. The plan proposes to remove the existing tennis courts, adjacent pavilion and stone parking area on the south side of the Walnut Street extension and replace it with a wetland/meadow area, and remove the existing softball field to the south of Walnut Street extension and replace it with 2 tennis courts, 2 pickleball courts, and a 19-space parking lot. This plan is a continuation of the 2014 Cedar Creek Parkway West Major Plan 2014-101. Phase 1 of the plan was completed and the plan was recorded. Phase 2 had a recently completed restroom, but the proposed parking lot for Phase 2 was not constructed. The county has since reevaluated the plan, is proposing construction in 2024 of the small improvements presented in this waiver from land development request. After discussions with staff, the county intends to submit a land development application in 2025 to complete the improvements proposed in the 2014 plan that did survive the recent reevaluation, including proposed trails, sidewalks, trees, driveway extension, and parking. The Public Safety Commission reviewed the plan at their May 6th meeting and made no comments. The Planning Commission reviewed the plan at their May 9th meeting and recommended the waiver from land development approval with 7 favorably recommended waiver requests. The applicant team is present tonight, and they're requesting approval of the waiver from land development application, and staff has no objections to that request.
Very good. Greg, thank you for your presentation. Before we move on, again, I'll ask our Township Engineer, Erin Bett, if there are any engineering comments for the board.
We have no further engineering comments. Actually, the applicant has submitted revised plans to us in office. We're waiting to resubmit our letter if there are any remaining comments. So they're on pace to move forward.
Excellent. Very good. Does the board have any questions for the applicant? No. Are there any public comments on this resolution? Nothing online. Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve said resolution?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Good luck with your project. Agenda item 7C, we have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of South Whitehall Township, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania, supporting the Pennsylvania Commission of the United States semi-quincentennial. I'll ask our Township Manager, Tom Bertucci, to present.
Thank you. America 250 PA was formed to celebrate the 250th birthday of the United States in 2026 and Pennsylvania's leading role in the birth of our nation. Pennsylvania is officially the first state to have 100% of counties pass resolutions to join in the celebration, and over 260 townships have also pledged to join in this important occasion. South Whitehall Township can become official partners of America 250 PA by approving the enclosed resolution, which is before you tonight.
Very good.
So,
Thank you.
Respectfully request you approve the resolution supporting the United States semi-quincentennial.
Thank you, Tom. Are there any comments or questions from the board? Any public comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve said resolution?
Motion.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 7D, we have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of South Whitehall Township to amend and adopt a formal policy entitled South Whitehall Township Appointment Policy for Appointed Citizen Boards, Committees, Commissions, and Councils. Again, I'll ask Township Manager Tom Bertucci to present this agenda item.
I'm sorry. So official action is requested the board to approve the amended policy entitled South Whitehall Township Appointment Policy for Appointed Citizen Boards, Committees, Commissions, and Councils. So an executive summary of the key changes to the provisions of this revised draft policy is provided as follows. Incumbent members of citizen boards will not be required to interview before the Board of Commissioners. Alternatively, the Board of Commissioners would request that each incumbent member who desires to be appointed to another term or reappointed to the applicable citizen boards would complete and file a letter of intent form, which is enclosed to a reference. Also, it confirms that the Board of Commissioners retain the right to require incumbent members to interview if determined necessary and in their sole discretion. The letter of appointment form asks members simply to provide their contact and background information, years of service on the a citizen board, and to memorialize their reasons for reappointment, as well as to highlight a memorable and impactful contribution to the board on which they served. And with that, I would ask the board for approval for tonight's resolution.
Very good, Tom. Thank you for presenting that this evening. I'll open up to the board if there are any questions or comments on said resolution. None. Is there any public comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve said resolution?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 7E, we have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of South Whitehall Township, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania, authorizing the township manager to execute a utility reimbursement agreement with the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation for the highway improvement project of State Route 309, Section 12M. Tom, if you would present.
Thank you. So this memorandum essentially covers both the two resolutions that are before you tonight for both water and sewer. So as part of the SR 309, Section 12M Interchange Highway Improvement Project, the Township Board of Commissioners previously approved cost-sharing agreements relative to the relocation of water and sewer utilities for South Whitehall Township, with the most recent approvals occurring during the April 3rd Board of Commissioners meeting. The township has now taken receipt of the final versions of the utility reimbursements agreements, and they must be executed and transmitted to PennDOT no later than tomorrow, May 16th. So resolutions have been prepared that authorize me to execute said agreements. The water and sewer cost-sharing agreements remain at the same fixed percentages of 75%. Just as an FYI, this project is set to go out to bid soon and will be let in sometime in, I believe, July. And the project will likely mobilize later this year or early next year in the spring.
Very good. Thank you for that update on the timeline, Tom. Any comments or questions from the board on either the water or sewer resolution? Are there any public comments? Well, we'll take them one at a time, although they're exactly the same except for the different water sewer. So the first resolution is 7E. Do I have a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We have resolution F, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of South Whitehall Township, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania, authorizing township manager to execute a utility reimbursement agreement with the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation for the highway improvement project of State Route 309, Section 12M for sewer. Is there any board discussion? Any public comment? Need a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. And item 7G, we have a resolution extending a conditional offer of employment for the entry-level position of patrol officer in the Township's Police Department to candidate number 08007, conditioned upon the individual satisfactorily completing medical and psychological examinations to confirm their fitness for duty. I'll ask Interim Chief Brown to present this agenda item.
Yes, Commissioners, thank you. Applicant 08007 is the next candidate on our eligibility list to fill the vacancy that we have on the department currently.
Very good. Thank you. Are there any comments from the board?
Just, would this put us at full staff?
Yes.
Any other board comments? Any public comment?
Well, it would, we'd be up to patrol officers, the staff for patrol officers, yes.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Okay.
You're right.
I just wanted to
We're still
clarify.
short one, I get
Yeah,
it.
all right.
From the patrol side.
Any other board comment? Any public comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve said resolution?
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 8, motions. 8A, we have a motion to proceed with Keystone Engineering Group to perform the water system monitoring upgrade to the SCADA system. I'll ask our Director of Township Operations, Herb Bender, to present this agenda item.
Thank you. The Public Works Utility Division is respectfully asking them for a motion to proceed with Keystone Engineering Group to perform the water system monitoring upgrade to the SCADA system. Included in this work will be 21 SCADA packs. So one of them, of the 21, would be a reserve. We need 20 to be installed right away. The CoStar's quote is for a total of $199,500. Keystone Engineering Group is currently the company we use for all the emergency monitoring repairs. This current SCADA pack that are installed are being discontinued. When this project gets started, we will take some remote monitoring of the water system till all the new SCADA packs are installed, because we need all the same ones to go through the same program. We are anticipating about 3 weeks or 4 weeks until everything is switched over from start to finish. So we are requesting a motion to proceed with the purchase of upgrading the SCADA monitoring system. This was budgeted for $200,000 in capital buildings, and the reason we put it in the building side is each one is at a different location. So when we insure these buildings, this is in the insurance package of that building also. So that's why we budgeted in there.
Very good, Herb. Thank you for presenting. I'll open it up to the board if there are questions.
I do have a quick question, Herb. It says in our packet that Keystone will notify us in the event an outage is required and provide an estimated outage.
Yes,
length of
that's
time.
if we would lose all outages across when they start tying the network back together.
Okay, is this something that is routine? Is it something that is expected that usually there is some sort of outage, or does it go seamlessly that there is no need for an outage?
When getting more than one quote, we actually obtained 2 quotes for this. There is a chance that we could have some outages as they take stuff apart and put them back together and reboot the system. That we're not anticipating any long outages at that.
Thank you.
Any other board comments? Any public comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve said motion?
Motion.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 8B, a motion to approve extension of pavement markings contract number 2023-06 Lehigh Valley Cooperative Purchasing Council contract to A1 Traffic Control for 2024. And Herb, if you'd present again, please.
Sure. In 2023, the board approved the contract with A1 Traffic Control on behalf of the Lehigh Valley Cooperative Purchasing Council for pavement markings. A1 has agreed to hold the prices for 2024, and we feel with the uncertainty of materials and fuel costs, this would be the best option for South Whitehall Township and LVCPC participating members. The agencies listed in the contact feel it is the best interest to extend the contract. Those agencies are the City of Allentown, Bethlehem Township, Lower Saucon Township, Palmer Township, and Whitehall Township. Township staff respectfully request the board to approve an extension of the contract to A1 Traffic Control for 2024. The budget line for this year is $50,000. Along in the packet is all the signalized intersection markings that will get done this year under this contract.
Very good, Herb. Thank you. Other board comments or questions?
So this is work done outside of what the township workers do?
Yes,
So why can't the township employees do the work?
we don't have enough equipment to get all that. We only have one machine that can do this. And when this crew mobilizes, they bring like 8 to 12 people with them so they can get it done in half the amount. Last year, we did it as a pilot program where we did the non-signalized intersections, and we were only able to get to half of them, and it took us almost the entire summer to get there.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions? Any public comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve said motion?
Motion.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 8C, we have a motion to proceed with release of security for Ridge Farms Phase 1A Improvement Security Release Certification Number 4. I'll ask our planner, Greg Adams, to please present.
Thank you. This is the fourth release for Ridge Farm Phase 1A, which is the construction occurring on the northeast corner of the Cedar Crest Boulevard and Walbert intersection. The Township Engineer's Office and staff conducted inspections to confirm and document the construction of the required improvements and are authorizing a release of $174,518.30. This release will bring the value of the constructed improvements to date to $1,144,921.13. The detailed documentation supporting the release is shown attached to the security release certification from the Township Engineer. Staff is requesting the authorization to have the Township Manager sign the security release letter to the financial institution.
Thank you, Greg. Again, ask our Township Engineer, Aaron Bett, if you have any engineering comments.
We have no engineering comments, as Greg mentioned. This is security release number 4. The items have been inspected and we're comfortable with the amount being released and the amount remaining.
Excellent. Thank you, Aaron. I'll open up to the board if there are any comments or questions on this agenda item.
I think if we talk to the residents, we said we're releasing $1 million. Now we have to for the improvements at Cedar Crest and Walbert. I think they would be hard pressed to show where $1 million went because it is difficult to transverse that area of the township. But I understand they do it a lot and we have to release the money. I get it, but it is very frustrating dealing with that intersection.
Just to clarify, we're releasing $174,000.
Oh, I thought he said a total of $1 million in improvements.
That's to date, all 4 security releases to date.
Yeah, I don't really see him.
Inflation.
I understand we have to do it, but it's,
Understood.
it's difficult to transverse. So we just leave it at that.
Are there any other board comments? Any public comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve said motion? Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 8D, we have a motion to proceed with sending out requests for quotes, qualifications for a data consultant to qualified firms with regard to the South Whitehall Township Transportation Plan, a comprehensive plan for the township's transportation network. I'll ask our Director of Community Development, Dave Manhart, to please present this agenda item.
Yes, so as we've been preaching repeatedly, we've begun our transportation plan. We're focusing on the engage, safety, and active portions of that plan. As we were going through that plan, we started noticing how important the other chapters are to inform and leverage some of the information that we're working on with the current plans. Which kind of led us into looking at what's called vehicle probe data. So it's data that's collected by Big Brother. So it leverages cell phones and GPS and Bluetooth to kind of compile traffic volumes, traffic speeds, turning movements. I mean, there's a whole litany of data available through these different providers. We began investigation into the data, and when I began the journey, I assumed we would get one consultant that was interested in this type of, had the ability to leverage the data the way we were looking for. I spoke to 4 or 5 different consultants, all have the ability to do it. Some use different data providers, some use free providers, some use subscription-based. So that's why we don't explicitly call out a specific data provider. We'll let the consultant come back to us with a recommendation. I think the important piece to this is we're keeping it as a data analysis, data collection, data analysis. project where we're not asking the consultants to do a lot of roadway investigation, geometry. It's really just mining the data, preparing the data so that we can use it when it comes time to craft the plans and make recommendations. So hopefully that kind of keeps the price lower. With that said, I don't really have a good idea of what it's going to come in at. So that's kind of why we're keeping it as an RFQ, so we can kind of see where things come and how best to manage that. And I anticipate us coming back with the results of this RFQ.
Very good. Great information, Dave. Thank you. I'll open up to the board if there are any comments or questions on this RFQ.
Just a few questions, and I might have missed this in the RFQ, but what sort of a timeline, assuming we get someone, how are they using data that's already collected? Will it be sort of, we're going to start at this day, end at this day?
So yeah,
yeah.
it's historic data.
Okay.
So it's been collected over 10 years or so.
Okay.
As the years progress, the data gets more frequent. So we'll probably go back to COVID, so post-COVID, and then use like the last 3 years. The really kind of neat point to this data is because it's historical and it's a catalog data set, we can look at specific points in time. So that's why we have the congestion piece put in there. We can look at events that occur on 22. When 22 shut down, we all know that everybody comes on to Walbert. So we can look at those impacts from a traffic data standpoint and perhaps come up with some solutions, whether it's synchronizing the lights in between, rerouting, or I don't want to speculate too much on what solutions might come out of it, but at least having the data, so that when we get to put everything together, we have everything ready for it. So it'll be a historic.
Yeah, I think this is a great approach. Obviously, the more data, the better. My only other question was, have you spoken to or do you know of either surrounding municipalities or others in the region that have done this, or is the technology so new that we're sort of the...
This is a new application for the data. The data's out there, and there's providers that provide the data. When I was with LVPC, the data sets had just become available, but they were horribly unwieldy. I mean, you had millions of data points, and so a lot of these newer providers are putting in a better system to use and analyze. So taking that data and really applying it at a local level. Because it's probe data, we don't, you don't have to set counts out, and you don't have to set monitoring locations. So it will track on local roads. So having the ability to look at different local roads and come up with assessments for classification is really going to be, I think, the exciting part of this. And we'll see what comes out of it. So it's kind of on the cutting edge.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dave, I just had one question. Thank you for presenting this tonight. The RFQ is very comprehensive, and I think it's a great approach to gather a great deal of data that we need as a municipality. My question, though, was if it's going off historical data, does it also have the ability to build in, for example, future growth specifically? We know Ridge Farm is coming in with those dwellings. Does it have any opportunity to build in what we know is on the books?
So yes and no. We built the traffic model as part of the comprehensive plan. We're actually looking at ways that we can add information to that traffic model. I could see an application for this data set to be used to help update that model. I've been in conversations with the modeler that helped us with the traffic model. And his we sat down and had a conversation, and his wheels were turning on how he might be able to apply it. So once we get our hands on it, and if you notice the deliverables, we have GIS data. So that's, we have 3 or 4 people in the department that are very good with GIS. So we'll be able to pull what we need out of it.
Excellent, thank you. Other board members have questions?
I just haven't been able to wrap my hands around what you're going to use with this data, right? So you want to get data to the example you used, 22 shut down. We all know you stay off of Walbert Avenue. We all know at 7:20 on a school day, don't go north on Cedar Crest from Walbert if you're in a hurry. Okay, what's the data going to tell us otherwise? So how is this data going to help us solve problems we already know exist?
I think it's going to quantify it. And then when it's quantifiable, you can take actions to make adjustments to, if it's signal timing. We can look at signal timing. It's just an example.
Right, okay. So I'll take a picture of Walbert, 22 shut down.
Yeah.
That's quantifiable. I'll take a picture of Cedar Crest at 7:20 on a school day. That's quantifiable. So what is this data just going to say? Your pictures are accurate.
It's going to give us the data for that point in time across the entire network. So it'll give us wherever it opens up, and then we can look at that section. I will say that the congestion management piece of this was, you'll notice it's the 3rd item on our list. Because these are often subscription based, we wanted to put in as many applications as we thought we could use the data for. And congestion management was one that kind of popped out that we could potentially use it. I don't have the answers on how exactly we're going to use it. I just know that it can be used for something like that.
So the company that does this is going to get us the data, but it's not going to give us a solution or a potential solution.
There's a deliverable for possible solutions. The idea is to look at 3 corridors and come up with possible recommendations. The other part of it is, in those of you who know me enough, I'd like to have my plans set up so that we have grant applications kind of canned and ready to go. So any data that we get out of this will support any future grant applications, which is often a requirement.
Any other comments from the board?
I mean, we're just getting for quotes, right? We don't, right?
That's exactly
Is this
correct.
a budgeted item?
We have room in the budget, yes. We'll see where it comes in, and I'll come back and I'll report on that.
So if it comes in, you're going to have to.
If it comes in ridiculous, we won't pursue it. And if we can't fit it in the budget, we'll put it off and either look at it for next year or roll up our sleeves and try to do it ourselves.
Any other comments from the board? Any public comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve said motion? Second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Then to item 8E, we have a motion to proceed with advertising bid for Vistas Park to the Pennsylvania DCNR approval. And I will ask our Director of Operations, Herb Bender, to present.
Thank you. In 2020 and 2021, the township was awarded 2 grants funded by PA Department of Conservation and Natural Resources and PA Department of Community and Economic Development. The township contracted with the Pitcat Company to create a specification for the reconstruction of the 7+ acre park to include amenities such as pickleball courts, a walking path around the park, nature play elements, a shade structure with benches, and the reconstruction expansion of the existing parking lot with ADA walkways being installed. In addition to the amenities, the specifications include new storm sewer system, grading, topsoil, seeding, and mulching. The complete specification has been attached for your reference. Please reference all attachments. For the play structure and shade structure, which are not part of these specs, this would be for informational purposes only. The reason they're for informational purposes only, we are going to use a vendor through CoStars to get those parts completed. Township staff respectfully request the board's permission to bid this project contingent on DCED approving the bid spec. So we would have to get no comments back and they approve the bids, the technical bid spec that we have here before we can move on. The budget approved this project for $500,000 is comprised of the following funding sources: 2 grants awarded, DCNR for $200,000 and DCED for $85,966, and in the 2024 open space budget for $214,034.
Thank you, Herb. My question, when might we expect the comments from DCNR? Window of time?
So I've uploaded the specifications to DCNR's website portal. So I would anticipate they will get back to us hopefully by the end of this month, and I'll try to expedite their review procedures.
Very good, thank you. Other board comments or questions on this agenda item?
Yeah, I just had one comment. I think that this was really well thought out, being that that park has a wet nature. It's a wet park. So the design I thought was very well thought out, and the structures. It's a good idea. So thank you for all your time that you put into this.
It's been a long team effort on this project.
It absolutely has. I did want to recognize all staff involved. It's been a long project, and also the Pidcock Company for their participation and help with this as well. Any other board comments? Any public comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to proceed with this motion?
So moved.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Herb. Agenda item 9, correspondence and information, boards and commissions. Tom, if you would present.
Thank you. Upcoming meetings and events are as follows. Thursday, May 16th, 7 p.m. We have the Planning Commission special meeting tomorrow night. Monday, May 20th, 5:30 p.m. Landscape and Shade Tree Commission. Monday, May 20th, 6 p.m. Environmental Advisory Council. Wednesday, May 22nd, 7 p.m. Zoning Hearing Board. Sunday, May 26th, 7 p.m. The Allentown Band holds their annual Memorial Day concert at the Springhouse Middle School. Monday, May 27th, the offices are closed in observance of the Memorial Day holiday. Monday, June 3rd is 7 p.m. is the Public Safety Commission meeting. And Wednesday, June 5th, 7 p.m. is a Board of Commissioners meeting. Please check for the website for any details, any changes to any of the meeting schedules.
Very good. Thank you, Tom. Just a note, the Planning Commission meeting tomorrow, Ridge Farm, was scheduled to be reviewed, but they have removed from the agenda. They're just going to have a time extension. Is that correct? Okay. Thank you. Agenda item 10, direction and discussion. We have a road safety audit, and I'll ask our Director of Community Development, Dave Manhart, to present.
So we received a traffic calming request consistent with our traffic calming policy for the 900 block of South Hillview Road. After doing some research, the 900 block of South Hillview Road is located within Lower Macungie Township. We looked at PennDOT maps because we were dealing with a roadway, and specifically our liquid fuels maps, which kind of dictates funding for roadways. The 900 block is in Lower Macungie. That said, the 900 block of Lower Macungie pays taxes to South Whitehall Township. So it's a very unique situation, and it wasn't necessarily appropriate for us to apply a township policy in another township, regardless of the tax situation. So I reached out to my counterpart, Nate, over at Lower Macungie. And we kind of discussed the request. We reached out to PennDOT as well, PennDOT Connects and Local Technical Assistance Program, which is often helps us with these types of requests. Um, as we were talking, the project grew. So Lower Macungie has concerns with the Kressler fish hatchery, traffic down there. We've had concerns with Lincoln. So we proposed the scope that you see on the memo to PennDOT, and it actually they raised it to a PennDOT Connects project, which is kind of the next level. It's LTAP's the smaller projects, and this is a bigger project. We don't have there's no like authorization to proceed or anything. It's kind of verbal, and we've been working through that. We've coordinated with Lower Macungie and Salisbury Township on this, and we're working on getting the road safety audit scheduled. A road safety audit includes site visits with stakeholders, so we'll probably be crammed in a van with representatives from South Whitehall, Salisbury, and Lower Macungie, kind of looking at all of the potential concerns and making ultimately, there'll be a report with recommendations to address any concerns.
That's excellent, Dave. Thank you. Has the township communicated with the resident who initially made the traffic calming
Yes.
request that this
Yes.
is ongoing? Thank you.
There were a lot of communications going back and forth
Very good.
with that block.
Oh,
Yes.
very good. Please
Yes.
keep us updated as this audit
We will.
moves through.
Yeah, we'll have a final report and we'll share that with the board.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The second item under direction discussion is the comprehensive plan reexamination report. And Dave, that would be you to present again.
So this is a direct action that came out of our comprehensive plan. During the comprehensive planning process, actually very early in the process, questions were asked about what did we accomplish from the 2009 plan? What was looked at, what was done, what wasn't. And the way it was structured, it was hard to quantify any actions that were completed. Greg and I sat down and tried to go through, pull out all the goals and everything and try and quantify it. And we found it very difficult. So one of the things that we did strategically when we were laying out the comprehensive plan is to come up with action items that we can report on. The other piece that we heard during the process was the 2009 plan was completed. I wouldn't say it sat on a shelf, but a lot of people weren't aware what the comprehensive plan was. So we wanted to find a mechanism to keep it fresh and keep looking at it so if there's updates that need to be made, we can make those updates. So what we have attached to the agenda item is the reexamination report. The way we structured the report includes an update on all the action items, where they are, a short summary of what's been completed or what's ongoing. And then the second part of that report includes a series of questions that we've asked the Planning Commission to kind of go through and see if there's anything that has happened that we should reopen the comprehensive plan or reopen an ordinance or look at a specific action item. So the questions are kind of open-ended. Being that this is our first reexamination report, we were kind of leaving it open. We wanted to kind of walk through the process, see how it went. If there's changes we can make to it next year, we certainly will, kind of as we go through the process, because we want to keep it fresh and not let it get stale. The recommendations that came out of it was we just updated it. There wasn't a whole lot that changed. So I think next year we will probably have some projects that are getting near completion that may warrant a look at something else. So that's what the reexamination report is. The recommendation is continue to look at it annually. We set it up so that we'll start looking at it in March, which is the anniversary of the comprehensive plan. And that kind of comes on the tails of the Planning Commission annual report.
Good day, thank you. Just reviewing the implementation action plan status charts that were included. It was really eye-opening to see the number of items that are in progress. So I want to give kudos to you and staff for digging in and tackling so many of those so early on in the process. And I think this is really a wonderful tool to keep the Board of Commissioners informed to what's going on in the planning process and how the comp plan is doing, because we need that input from planning. So I applaud all the work that was put into bringing this to the board. So thank you.
It's amazing to me, Dave, how the comp plan was just recently adopted a year ago, and so much is in progress, as evident by this timeline. It's well organized. All the elements are listed. There's a timeline, there's a status, the priority, and I appreciate all the hard work that you and the department has done, staff has done. It's so comprehensive, no pun intended. I know it's the comprehensive plan, but it covers everything. And again, it just what you have already started is just amazing. So thank you.
Thank you for that. And there's a balance that we have to strike in starting things and finishing things. So we're really trying to, I almost didn't even want to bring this RFQ because we wanted to finish some of the other stuff. But I think having that as kind of a data thing, we don't have to spend as much time on it. So we will be before you again with some completed items soon.
I'll echo Monica and Diane's comments. This is really an excellent summation of where we're at. And like Diane and Monica both said, it's so nice to see how many things are in progress. The one item I did have a question on, because I know it's marked as not started yet, are be on page 9, the saldo updates. I know later on in the plan, obviously a lot of certain potential changes to the saldo will flow out of our landscapes plan and sort of preservation plan. But when would you expect that we sort of start to take a more comprehensive look at our saldo overall, and potentially would that be a similar process to our zoning updates and the overlay? What would that process look like? And the only reason why I ask it is it's one of the short-term projects that's not started yet.
Yeah. So saldo updates, it's very similar to the zoning ordinance update. To overhaul the entire thing is a very large undertaking. One of the items with the RFQ that we have, the classification, one of the things we've been discussing internally is our roadway classifications. There's a functional class which kind of identifies volumes and speeds. And then there's different standards applied to the functional class. What we've discovered through day-to-day experience and land developments, we want to throw on top of the functional class a character class. So this character class is a rural example would be a rural, we'll call it a collector. Won't have the same saldo requirements as a neighborhood collector. So that we can kind of fine tune saldo using character and functional class to build out saldo. So again, it's another one of those things we want to have the guidance, the documentation and the plan to set the stage and the guidance and those plans go through a public process so that when it comes time to make the saldo, it's not one of those, where's this coming from? Why are we doing it? So we're going very deliberate through this process to get to the point and have that rationale for making those updates.
So basically, even for a lot of the items that haven't started yet, you could almost consider them in progress because a lot of the data we're collecting a lot of the work we're doing on other items will make that process much easier, and we won't be
Yes.
starting from scratch.
Yes.
So,
Yes, we're always building on top of things. Official map updates is another one. We want to get the landscapes plan done. There'll be official map updates. We're anticipating updates coming out of that.
Excellent. Any other board comments? Any public comment? Moving on, we have no old business tonight. Agenda item 12, courtesy of the floor. Again, opportunity for any member of the public to comment on any non-agenda items. Does anyone wish to speak? Yes, sir. Please give us your name and address for the record.
Dave Torrey, 1351 Deerfield Drive. Is there any consideration of constructing a community center in South Whitehall? I was thinking that Borough Northampton has one, Palmer Township has one, Lower McCounty Township has one. And I believe Upper McCounty Township is planning one. You know, community center with meeting rooms. I know Lower McCounty is combined theirs with a library because space here wouldn't allow it. But, you know, there's meeting rooms, there's basketball courts, there's, you know, things for community events there. Is there been any thought to anything like that?
I'll turn it over to our township manager to address.
At this time, there's not a significant movement from the public to basically have that type of facility here in the township. But aside from that, the issue is one of relating to funding. With the township renovating this building, the township has taken on a significant debt burden for the next approximately now 13 years. And you know, to take on another significant debt burden would possibly impact our debt limit beyond you know what would be considered tolerable at this time.
You know, it's interesting that the individual developments like Regency, the Toll Brothers development, has a community center. It's too bad that any new development couldn't chip into a community center for everybody, not, you know, which should be for their residents as well as anybody, you know, all of residents. So anyway, just curious.
Well, of course. Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Good evening.
You sold 3731 Manchester Road. Can you tell me why the drug take back has been eliminated from South Whitehall Township?
I can take that one. So basically, when people were putting the items into the box, they were exposing our officers to hypodermic needles and pills that were loose, not in any containers, which we felt was a mitigated safety risk for our officers that have to administer the take back box apparatus.
Is there another resource to dispose of these drugs that we have that?
Yes, there's multiple resources in this area. There's actually, if you go online, you can look. If there's a Google search, there's I believe the CVS as well as some other pharmacies that have it available.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your question. Any other comments this evening? Anything online? Good. Moving on to agenda item 13. I need a motion to authorize payment of invoices and disbursements. Motion to second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries 5-0. We have no executive session to schedule this evening. I need a motion to adjourn. I'll make that motion. I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This motion